Hello. So the other international law and regulation that goes in favour of the trusts and the return of the assets and the correction of the banking system is that the incorporated system, including the postal union and universal postal service, as complicit in this hostility towards living men and women, is the impersonation of us, the extraction of wealth, barratry, and this very ingrained system, which is one of the reasons why there is no evidence coming easily to Google to say what is happening, what needs to happen, and why. But the situation is that there has been a multitude of human rights violations, animal rights violations, ecocide. We haven't even been able to have any agency be able to stop anything, however contrary to our national morals, our cultures, even our bodily integrity has now been 100% overridden by the pressure to take genetically engineered self-assembling nano corrupting jabs, and the way that the food system's poisoned. Basically everything incorporated has been a hostility, and there's plenty of cases already in International Criminal Court, in the Federal Supreme Court, in Switzerland, and across the world, some of which successful, and we can use them, and you can use them for cases that you have won or that you have been looking forward to bringing forwards, that have the aspect of being obvious wrongs that need to be corrected. Which reliable public institutions have validated the information issued? Well, the same, the whole United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Bank of International Settlements, all the finance ministers, but they are so far denying it. And this has been a problem until actually this week, when it became clear that there is needed this change. So we need to get the people who are remake the claims and know that there is a very particular plan for each one of those deposits, and we just need to make the claim to make sure that can be honoured and that conversation started, so that it can all be done and dusted before they start coming up with another idea for how they're going to renew their capital, which could of course be digital ID, where they say, oh, now your passports or your birth certificates have all been destroyed, sadly, you need to roll up and re-register. Whatever it is, you can be very sure it's hostile to human beings, and so that's why it has to happen this year, when they are busy creating money. And this time it can, instead of being backed by us, it's backed by these vast funds, which makes it a really benefit for everybody. All the US dollars mentioned, deposited in the trust fund, so I've said about the audit, the recent audit, I think it was 2017, and the previous ones, and actually there has been an occasion, the last Jubilee year, when it was going to be paid out, and it was actually signed by John F. Kennedy, and in the Green Hilton Memorial Act or Bill, and so there's been a lot of efforts, and it's a big job, but what we're doing this time, which is so powerful, is we're involving every country, and just think about the prosperity it will bring to your country, and how you can make sure that countries that have less freedom to make those claims are all going to be brought at the same time, because once the very first agreement is reached and the first payout is agreed, that is how they're going to do it, everyone will benefit. And we're talking to people. We're not entertaining the we're not, how the corporations are going to feel about it, because they are actually officially bankrupt, because they are not backed by anything now. So we're withdrawing our consent to use the Alpha Omega funds for their heinous plans. How could the Federal Reserve, the treasuries and banks assign authority to the original administration of the Alpha Omega Trust? Well, that is exactly what's happening, and it's going to involve a lot of there is already written down the exact way this is going to work, referring to individual accounts, but deposits. But in addition, we're going to the first thing that we're going to establish is that each sovereign nation is a sovereign nation with access to those funds, and it will be the money will go to a central bank as long as it is administered and rechartered, repurposed for public banking purposes. So that's banking in the public interest rather than private banking, and not using usury and debt. So shows that. That's. Oh, I see. There's been some answers put here, but the answers are obviously generated by either Google Translate or by AI of some description, and so I'm not going to try and wade through those answers, because all the answers are like, oh no, nothing to see here, don't worry about that, that's only an illusion that you're actually totally prosperous and it's been completely hidden from us, even though it was signed by all those people around the world in 2007, and then in 2008 there's an announcement of a big banking crash and the people have to face austerity. So at some point in this it says, what jurisdiction does the UCC cover? UCC 1 is the highest common law, natural law, creator's law, grantor's law. So you'd have to, that is something that we're kind of, well, for me, I have limited total understanding. But one of the questions that is asked is about how do we make the claims? And the Australian co-trustees group has made a claim, and they've put in all the different CEOs of all the different banks where there are Alpha Omega deposits. And they've served notice, and they were able to get into the banks and by actually becoming shareholders and attending the annual general meeting, and just approaching and saying, did you know? And many of them didn't know, and you could see that it was genuine. And so they were able to serve notice. It remained unrebutted, and that is now going forwards to the International Criminal Court. All the American banks have been served. All the UK banks, 7 or 8 of the UK banks have been served, and the way you do it is just to make the claim. You find out the CEOs. I would put, I think it would be good to do it individually, but all be, as you say, as a team, so that all the group of countries, in Spanish, there is what's that called? An international order that's already translated into Spanish, that is nearly ready to go out. But I don't think that's the first step. The first step is to make the claim, and what I mean by that is, dear Mr. Bailey, acting as CEO of Dominican Republic Central Bank, I'm writing to ask you to register this account, and then you have the account number from the audited accounts that you have. There's the 3 proofs of funds, and then so you're basically just establishing ownership. Who are the beneficiaries? You're asking them to register those accounts, bring them from off ledger onto ledger, and asking them for all documentation they hold in relation to those funds, and enter the conversation of how to pay them out.